life will give us a little window of opportunity. Our destiny is ultimately defined by how we respond to these windows of opportunity. So thank you all for making this choice tonight to come here tonight. We all have many choices. We could be at home, we could be Christmas shopping, we could be sitting in front of the telly. But you all chose to come here tonight. So I'm honored, I'm humbled, and I'm privileged that you gave me this opportunity to be here tonight. So I hail from Johannesburg, South Africa. Do you guys know where Johannesburg, South Africa is?
Yeah.
You heard of Nelson Mandela? Same place. Now when I think of Nelson Mandela, one thought comes to my mind, and that is very few people achieve what they truly set out to do in life. And I think when we think about Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi and Mother Teresa, that is essentially the people that have achieved what they set out to do in life. Now, they weren't any smarter than any of us. Einstein's brain was 10% smaller than that of most people's brains, but look what he achieved. Simply because he didn't buy into his limitations. He knew his greatness was within him. And he knew that there were no limits. In fact, we always say the sky is the limit, but essentially, it's the mind that has no limits, not the sky. So that's the premise of what I want to speak tonight. Marianne Williams said that nothing binds us except our thoughts. Nothing controls us except our fears. And nothing limits us except our beliefs. And I'm going to expand on that tonight, and I'm going to take the 3 ingredients of that quote, and I'm going to expand on that tonight. So I'm a life coach, I'm an NLP practitioner. For those who don't know, that's neuro-linguistic program. I speak a language that most people don't speak. It's very foreign, but it's really fun. So essentially, neuro-linguistic programming is the way you communicate your conscious mind to your subconscious mind. And the commands we give the subconscious mind that essentially vibrate the frequency that achieve the results that we want from our lives. Now, a lot of the times we sabotage ourselves. We don't know what we're commanding. I mean, I'm going to ask everyone here now not to think of a blue cow. What are you thinking about? So, the mind thinks in pictures and patterns and images. The mind doesn't understand don't commands. It's like you get onto a bus and you tell the bus driver, I don't want to go to Warsaw. Bus driver will say, sure, where do you want to go to? I'm telling you where I want to go. I don't want to go to Warsaw. Now you see how confused the bus driver can get with that kind of command because he simply doesn't know where you want to go. So in order to get what we want, in order to communicate effectively to our subconscious mind, what we need to do is we need to give clear embedded commands. When we give clear embedded commands, our subconscious mind can identify without any presuppositions, without any automatic assumptions, where we want to go. And this command can then be vibrated into a frequency, which will then get the result we want from our lives. You've experienced that, probably you've experienced that too as well. You can see how they're smiling. I mean, they're like really on fire. I mean, there's a huge difference because simply we're just communicating effectively. And you know, I always give the example, like if this room is really bright, and let's say we're doing computer work or we're doing screen work, so we're getting a curtain guy and we put curtains on there because we want to block out the light. And then we get the blind guy because the light's still not dim enough really to get an effective screen. So we block out with the blinds. And then we get shutters on the outside. And then this room's really dark in the middle of the day and we can do effectively what we want to do on the screen. But the question I asked you is, did the light stop shining? Absolutely not. We simply blocked out the light. And that's what we do, you know, like the universe will never stop giving us blessings. The universe will never stop giving us what is good. It's, you know, like whatever universe is for you, whether it's Allah, Bhagwan, whether it's God, whether it's consciousness, whatever you need, God will never stop shining His light upon you. It is simply you that block out that light. And you need to identify that life is always happening through you and never to you. We are the cause of every effect in our lives. So I'm going to expand on, but before I do that, is everyone breathing? Are you breathing? Are you breathing? We all just breathe to live. And what we need to do is, we need to actually, we've got trillions and trillions, over 100 trillion cells, according to scientists and you know, people who study the brain. And they say, like Deepak Chopra says, we've got over 100 trillion cells within our neurology, and how do we keep these cells oxygenated? Simply by breathing. So we're going to do AHA breathing. Will you guys join me to AHA breathe? So I want everyone to stand up, please. If you could. You know, when in Hawaii, the Hawaiians get together, and you know what they do for like 6 hours on a weekend? They breathe. When the white men came to Hawaii, the Americans, the Hawaiians call them haules, white men that don't breathe. We need to oxygenate our cells. So in order to oxygenate these cells, we need to breathe. So from the abdomen, we're going to breathe. We're going to hold it in for a while, and then we're going to slowly release it. Then we're going to do this 3 times. And you're going to try to get into the mindful practice of doing this maybe 3 to 4 times a day, 3 times each time, and see how resourceful you become. So, AHA breathing. Let's get the energy in the room filled up. And again. Bobby does it so well. See you breathe. Feeling more relaxed, How'd you get? Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Good, you guys can have a seat now. Thank you. You know, scientists have now found an explanation for what we call happiness. It is a subjective state of mind when the body releases endorphins, dopamines, oxytocin, and serotonin all together. And essentially, when we get this all together, we're in a state of what we would call happiness. And they also say there are 3 ways of achieving this state of mind. 1, take drugs. It's not very smart because we know drugs are symptomatic and they have side effects. 2, meditation, which is powerful. So if you can get your mind to be still and you can meditate, you will achieve the state of happiness. And 3, see a life coach. And they can help you to get to the state of happiness. So I'm very serious though. So if you guys want to be in a state of subjective happiness, give me a call. So, nothing binds us except our thoughts. Rene Descartes in the 12th century said, I think, therefore I am. Just think about that thought. Everything in life, everything that we are made up of is our thought and our choices. I mean, think back in your life where if you had made one choice differently to where you are today, how your whole life would have turned out extremely differently. One thought, one choice. And life's about those choices, life's about those thoughts. But what is a thought? So I have an analogy, and I want you to imagine that thoughts are tea bag, because I mean the UK people love a cuppa, so we're going to talk about tea. Imagine thoughts to be a tea bag. Imagine your mind to be an empty teacup. So you take this thought, which is the tea bag, and you throw it into a teacup. Do we have a cup of tea yet? No? What do we need to do? Boiling water. So water is, let's say, consciousness of that thought. So we got thought, we got the mind, and we got the boiling water. So it's how we give the thought recognition that give us our results. I mean, let's face it, how many times in our life we said, we're going to kill this guy, I'm going to kill this person. My own kids, my parents, for not being on time or not taking the phone call when I needed to. Did we kill them? So we identified that that thought recognition wasn't real. It was just a thought. But the guy now sitting behind bars for 30 years of life gave that thought recognition. And what happened was he went and he gave it consciousness. He made a brew. And that became the teacup and the tea bag, and that became the cup of tea, and he then went and he killed that person. So he didn't identify it as just a thought. He gave it recognition. And that's why Marianne Williamson says, nothing binds us except our thoughts. So thoughts are like the rudders of a ship. They kind of guide you through the waters where you want to go. If you want to go, for example, in your motor vehicle to another town, you don't have to change the motor vehicle. You don't have to change the type of fuel that you use. You don't have to change the capacity of the engine. You simply got to change the way you steer where you want to go. And of course, you've got to have an intention to get there. And those thoughts then take you through the way you want to go. So essentially, our thoughts plus our consciousness equals our realities. That becomes our actions. So if I want to change my reality, all I need to do is, do I need to change the teacup to change your cup of tea? Do I need to change the water? I simply need to change the tea bag, and I'll get a new flavor, I'll get a new type of tea. So if I change my thoughts, I'll change my reality. So quite simply, thought plus consciousness equals reality, new thought plus consciousness will equal a new reality. And that's all we got to do. When we start changing the way we think about things, the things that we think about will change. And I'm going to prove to you that is not just a play on words. I'm going to give you a little silly story, and I want to see how you guys giggle on that one. I want you to imagine you're at home, and you're going out on this date tonight, and you're waiting for like the right time to go out, and half an hour before you're going out, and this is very common in South Africa, we have a thing called load shedding. So lots of people can identify in South Africa when they talk about load shedding when the power goes off. But I don't know about the UK, I don't know how bad you guys are on load shedding.
No, we don't.
But imagine you're sitting at home in South Africa.
Okay.
And you're about to go out, and all the lights switch off. There's an absolute power outage. It's gone absolutely dark. So dark that you can't see your hand in front of you. So you stand up and you think to yourself, well, let me just go out there and go out on this date and let me get out for the night. But as you're walking out, you stumble on some furniture and you drop your car keys, and it kind of eludes you, it rolls away from you. So you're on the floor frantically in the dark, you're looking for your car keys, and it's so dark that you're knocking over furniture and ornaments and kids' shoes and kids' toys, and you simply can't get out of the house. But while you're on the floor looking for these car keys, you look outside the window and you notice that the street light is still working. So you have an epiphany and you have an amazing thought. So you stand up and you somehow get yourself out of the house. You go under the street light where it's really bright and you start looking for your car keys over there because there's so much light over there. And your neighbor comes along and says, hey, what you doing? And you said, no, I dropped my car keys. And I'm just looking for it because I need to go out on a date tonight. And the neighbor said, okay, I'll help you. Neighborly love, which we don't have in South Africa. I think you have it here. So there you're both sitting on the floor, in the ground, under the street light, and you're looking for these car keys. And after like the third round, your neighbor looks at you and says, are you sure you dropped your car keys here? And you say, no, I didn't drop it here. I dropped it in the house, but it's so dark in there. I decided to come look here, under the light. Now I see everyone grinning because that's how profoundly insane it is to do that. How many times in our life, when we're looking for something within us, we tend to look outside of us. We want to acquire what we think we need within. And just think about that thought. That, this thought of pulling things from out there that you need, when it's all within you. I mean, it's exhausting, this action of pulling and tugging and trying to get what you need or trying to acquire what you need. You just can't get there because everything you need is innately within you. The only thing you've created are barriers from achieving that within you. I think it was the Sufi poet Rumi, I don't know if you heard of Rumi, you have heard of Rumi, who said that it is not our task to seek for love, merely our task to break all the barriers against achieving love that we want. And that's what he was saying. It took us like 12 centuries, because he was in the 12th century, but we kind of get it. That whatever we need in life is right within us, is not without us. We need to look within, not without. If you're looking without, it's as profoundly silly as looking for the car keys under the street light when you simply dropped it in the house. The second part that Marianne Williams says is nothing controls us except our fears. And that comes down to thoughts again. I had this coach back home, and he used an amazing acronym when he says, fear is false evidence appearing real. Acronym for fear, false evidence appearing real. Because we are not even afraid of what we think we are afraid of. We are simply afraid of our thoughts. Imagine you're in a movie house, and someone convinces you to go watch this really scary horror movie. And you're sitting in this movie house and you're watching this horror movie and everyone's so engaged, everyone's entranced with the movie house. And of course the blonde lady is running downstairs to the cellar where the boogeyman's waiting with his chainsaw to take you out, to take her out. And of course as she runs down, she's really shaking and she's really afraid. And everyone in the movie house with the music and the suspense and the darkness is all engrossed into that scene. And as she walks down, she's now huckaying and she's like really afraid. She can't even breathe, she's so afraid. And the flashlight always goes off. So the flashlight goes off, but of course the movie script is continuous. So she continues walking, and she creaks the door open, and the whole movie house is silent. You yourself are in a state of adrenaline. And just as about the boogeyman's about to grab her and chop her head off with the chainsaw, Your phone goes off with your favorite Bollywood song. Are you afraid now?